Hi, in this video we're going to have a look at the teacher pack. Now that doesn't mean that students can't watch this video, because if you're using this at home and your teachers have set you this as independent work, it might be they want you to look at the answers and look at the teacher pack as well. But it may be that if they haven't given you access to this, that you won't see the teacher pack folder. Once you've gone in and you've downloaded all the resources, you'll see the different folders here. We had OCR and AQA before we deleted those because we were just looking at edXL as an example for now. And you can see there's a teacher pack folder. So we're going to go into that teacher pack folder and we're going to have a look at what is actually in that teacher pack. Okay, so you'll see then two more folders. Now again, originally there was an OCR and AQA folder, but they've been removed because we're just looking at edXL for the sake of a sample. So you'll see here now we've got Python activity answers, which has got answers to all the Python files which we used with activities, particularly in the algorithms and programming chapters. You've then got edXL folder where we've got answers that are specific to the edXL tasks. So we'll have a look at that first of all. The first thing you'll see here is answer 1, answers to questions. Now there'll be a file here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many chapters there are in whichever exam board that you've gone for. There'll be one for each chapter. So here it is. As you can see, it's broken down, and this is the chapter number, so chapter 1, and this is the topic number, topic 1. So that relates to the question templates, to the presentations, and to the sections of the textbook. And we'll scroll down and have a look at a few of these. We're going to see what sort of features we can see within them, and we're going to particularly look at this moment at some of the search and sort algorithms. Now although this is an extension activity, it shows quite well how the answers work out. So students wouldn't normally be expected to know the code for the binary search, but for your more able students they might want to do it. Now here you can see the links to the original REPL and the original Python file that were used to create this code. But further you can also see additional links to answer files that are used within this. And if we are to follow that link by clicking on it, then we'll be able to open up that file. So this is going to open up the file in Phony. This is a file that's been opened in Phony. And as you can see, the file name follows the question pattern, and you've got here the original question, and as we go through you can then see that there is a full answer. Now I'm not going to go into any detail here about how this actually works, because I'm going to show you that when we look at one of the activities, which is a little bit better to follow. But once we close down Phony, we're back to our question template. So looking at, sorry, not the template, the answers that follow the pattern of the template. So if we scroll down through our answers, we can see the other sections are all covered. So this now covers the purpose of algorithms in terms of sorting and searching. This one's particularly about sorts, this topic. And then this final topic here, which is about truth tables. And that completes showing you the answers to the questions file. So that was having a look at the answers to questions. Those are the exam style questions that come at the end of each topic within a chapter. The Python files that go with those, because they're specific to each exam board, because each exam board does things in a little bit of a different way, you'll find those in this folder alongside them in Python questions answers. Okay, so there they are, and that was the one I was using, which was the extension task to chapter 1, topic 3. So those were the Python files used for the exam style questions. Now what we're going to do is have a look at the answers to the activities that you'll see throughout the presentations and throughout the textbook. So if we go into the activities answers folder, you'll see here that they are separated out by each of the chapters. So chapter 1, chapter 4, chapter 6. So we'll have a look at chapter 1 for example. Remember this is just the edXL example, but the process would be the same for the other exam boards. And you'll see here that you've got all the different answers files. Now We're going to have a look in a moment at the linear search one, because that is one of the ones that students do need to know the code for. They don't need to know the code for the other searches or sorts, but they do need to know it for the linear search. And we'll have a look at that in a minute. But it can be a little bit difficult knowing which activities have got answers. So you can have a look through and you can see in the file structure whether they're there or not. But what I've done is created an index to all the activities and all the answers, and whether they've got Python files associated with them or not. So if we have a look at this file, it's called the activities answers index. Then what you will see as it comes up is it follows the same format as the textbook chapters. So you can see here problem solving, which is chapter 1, and then it's got different sections: representing algorithms, understanding algorithms, searching algorithms. So if I go, for example, to searching algorithms, you'll see now, here we go, we've got, let's just go back a bit, we've got here linear search using a for loop. And we can see here that there's no worksheet for it, and there's no worksheet answers, so that saves us having to look for it. But we can see that there's a Python file for the activity, and there's also the REPL equivalent. And if we scroll on a little bit further and have a look at, like here, for example, this extension work, we can see here that for all the questions in that task, there's an activity worksheet, the activity answers document, which I can go straight to. There is Python file for the activity, the same in REPL, the Python answers file as well, and the same in REPL. So we can just get straight to all those answers when we need them. If we have a look at this one, which is for trace tables, you can see in this case that actually the files are used for Python, although the activity worksheet is a single worksheet and the answers is a single document, but the Python files have been separated by each question: 1, 2, 3 and 4. So this is really, really easy to follow. So let's have a look at one of those worksheet answers. So I'm just going to scroll up here so we can now see on the second page, right hand side of the page, where we've got the linear search. Now if I click on this file here where it says activity answers, what that's actually going to do is open up the answers file for the linear search activity. Now that saves you having to go searching for it in the folder structure like I showed you earlier. And it also means that if there's not an answers worksheet, you can see quickly from here. But before I open it, you can also see that you've got the Python activity answers and the REPL answers as well. So we'll open that file up, okay, and of course it's going to give us the warnings before we go through that process. And what you'll see now is that linear search answers worksheet. So here you might find some example answers. So these aren't definitive. Students may come up with alternative answers that mean the same thing. And you may find some answers that are more definitive, like what you would expect to find in a trace table. But again, students may do this in a slightly different pattern that is still acceptable. As long as the values are there and they're in the correct order, then that is okay. You can also see that it's been separated where the investigate questions were, the predict questions, in line with the PRIM methodology. Here you can see a link to the REPL that students would have been presented with, so you can easily access that if you're feeding back to students, and also the Python file that's there. And finally you get to see the links to the answers file, which has additional information to the information that was given to the students, and also that's on the REPL, and then also a direct link to the Python file. Now the one that I'm going to open here links to Phony. Now that is because I've set up my .py files to be linked to Phony. If your .py files aren't linked to any particular IDE, then they won't open up automatically. So you'll either want to get your technicians to set that up to happen, or looking at the folder structure, which we'll go back to in a moment, you could actually open up the file directly yourself. Here's the Python file then that is linked to that question that we were looking at in the activity. So if we have a look at this, and we can see that there is some code there that shows us what the search looks like. This is the linear search, but we've also got a step-by-step linear search. And the useful bit about this is it is effectively showing students what the value of the variables is as we go through that search, and they can see therefore how it's working. It's a bit like a watch feature, but it's done in a bit more of a friendly way. So we're going to run that code and see what happens. Here we go then, the code has started running, and if you haven't noticed, I've moved sides so that you can see this a little bit better. And what you can see is it's run the first part of the code and it's shown us that it's found 8 at position 3. But now what we can do is we can run through this code step by step. So I'm just going to press enter and we're going to go through, and it's telling us that the target value, okay, is 8. It's telling us that the array value is 79284. We can then link this to how the code is working, so we can say to students, well look, that was where the length was calculated, and this is where the length has been displayed as 5. This is where found was set to false, and we can see that that has actually happened here as well. We can carry on and we can show them how counter is set to 0, and we can then show them when the loop has started. So we can see here now that we've run these bits of code, the loop has started, and it's now actually displayed what the array position counter looks like. So array position 0 looks like at that point. And we'll continue going through here, and it tells us that it's comparing 8 with 7. So there's the 7 that it's comparing with. 8 was the target value, and it discovers that they don't match, and therefore it's going to follow the else route. So if we look at our code, there's an else route here, and it's now following that. And this continues in that way. So the loop starts again. It's now looking at 9. 9 still doesn't match 8, so it follows through that pattern. And then it's looking at number 2, and it doesn't match. And now it's found number 8. And what it will do is say it's comparing 8 with 8, which is what's going on here. Okay. And then it's going to show us that because it matches, it's going to go through the then route. And so you can see here it said that the then route has been followed, and that 8 has been found at position 3, and found has been set to true. And of course the loop now doesn't restart because found was false, and therefore it can stop. And that's shown us how the linear search has worked and been able to allow us to give feedback to students in the context of that activity template. So what we'll do now is we'll close down Funny or whatever IDE or you would be using, and I'll close down the Word document for the answers to the activity, and we'll have another look at the folder structure. This is a file structure, so you can see all the answers in the activities answers folder. Now they're the Word documents, so if we just go back a folder to Edexcel, which is within the teacher pack, and this would be the same for OCR and for AQA, you can now see that's where they were. You've got the Python question answers, so the Python files that are used for the question templates. But if we go back one folder to the teacher pack, we can now see the Python files that were used for the activities answers. Now this is for all exam boards because it's exam board agnostic. It doesn't matter which exam board is used, these Python files are the same. So when we go in and have a look, there was that Python file that I was using, which was the answers to the linear search. So just a quick recap on that folder structure then. So we've got our teacher pack. You'll have a folder for your exam board. In this case it's Edexcel, but it would work the same for OCR and AQA. You have a folder where you've got the activity answers which relate to all exam boards. You go into your exam board folder where you'll find all the answers, and you'll see 2, 3, 4, 5 for all the different chapters within the textbook. You'll see the activities answers in here, that's the Word documents, and the Python files that relate to the end of topic exam style questions here as well. So that's how to use the teacher pack.